Hello coaches and welcome to this live Give and Go presentation. My name's David Newbury and I'm joined by my colleague Ian Barker. Hi Ian.
Hi David, good afternoon from Central Standard Time.
Excellent. So let's go through into our first activity for the day. We are looking at 3 versus 2 plus keeper to goal, and this is an activity that I've chosen because of the functionality and the opportunity for us to work the fullbacks, the midfield players, and also the strikers. For the people who are joining us today, please use the right-hand side, your dashboard, to complete the poll, to download the activity diagrams that are provided as a handout, and also to send in your questions as we go through. So Ian, let's go through to the first slide, and this is the setup for the first sequence, and I'll explain a little bit about the process here, and then if you wouldn't mind just picking up, and we'll talk a little bit about methodology. First of all, we have 6 players in each team. The yellow team are attacking the near end, and the red team are attacking the far end. The players that start on the field are the goalkeeper. We have a 1 versus 1 in one zone and a 1 versus 1 in the other zone, and then the keeper for the yellow team starts with a service wide, and the first player from the sideline dribbles inside the field. So now we have a 1 versus 1 in the center, and a second yellow player is now joining from the other side of the field, and we have our 1 versus 1 and the keeper in the end zone. We need some vests, or certainly 2 colors, to differentiate between the 2 teams here, and you'll notice that the balls are placed by the side of the goal. So Ian, let's talk a little bit about the methodology that we're using here on our first sequence.
Sure. Well, it's certainly not a drill. That's the first thing that all of our guests should be aware of. You have 1, 2, 3 yellow players attacking the goal of 2 reds with a goalkeeper. So what you've got is a very game-like situation. It's critical for the coach, for this to be an effective session, that he or she has a good supply of balls in the correct place. And the correct place would be behind the goal, because the goalkeepers will start every activity. What I really like about this type of setup, and we talked about it in previous Give and Goes, is that it is not a traditional sort of cavalry charge where all the yellows are here and all the reds are here. Instead, what we've got is we've got natural width brought in, we've got length, and we have depth potentially if the game goes into a 3v3. And then what it also allows us to do in a small-sided game is put our key players in the right spaces. So obviously our goalkeeper is in the right space, but we're going to have this player be one of our primary defenders. This guy will be one of our primary attackers, and so on and so forth. So a really nice game-realistic setup with tons of repetition of key points.
Thanks, Ian. So let's go through now into the setup as we progress the activity. And as you can see here, we have the yellow player that received the initial pass from the goalkeeper, who's now moved infield, and the player that started on the other side of the field has made an overlapping run and received the pass. Now, a couple of things here from a defensive perspective. The players that started inside the zone, so the first defender is unable to leave the zone to begin with, but the player that is recovering in the midfield, the red player, can move in and out of the middle zone and into the end zone. But we have essentially here a 3 versus 3 with the goalkeeper making up the third player on the red team. And we finish with a lovely cross and finish from the central striker. So Ian, let's talk a little bit about some of the methodology here.
Sure. So one of the things I really like is dividing your field into various zones, be they in this case horizontal zones. Of course, you could potentially do vertical zones if you were developing wing play. But what it does is it gives you the opportunity to manipulate advantages, overloads or underloads for one team or the other. So in this case, all 3 of the yellows could drop out into this space because we've put the condition that 1 red must always stay in here. So manipulating the space is some great methodology. What I'd also be looking at is, because we've created a numerical 3 versus 2 and a keeper situation, we've given the yellow team significant opportunity, assuming there's good pressure from the reds, for combination play. So David has diagrammed here this potential of an overlapping run. There could be give and go type situations, but just creating that little overload in favor of the yellows leads to some of your combination themes coming up prior to getting to even numbers, which of course is the game realistic Saturday afternoon.
Thanks, Ian. And just to remind our participants what's available on the right-hand side of their screen, there is the original poll that we offered, which is one question, ask about the last time you attended any formal training. The second is the download, so you can download the 3 activity diagrams and make notes. And then the third is an offer that we have associated with this activity. It comes from the convention manual, a souvenir from the 2017 convention, which covers about 6 of the special topics diplomas, and this particular activity came from the Speed of Play diploma. So there's 66 more of these in there if you're interested in that, and that link will take you to the website where you can make that purchase. Let's go now to the third and final sequence, and let's talk a little bit about the rotations, because this is where it becomes somewhat complex, but this is how we get players in and out of the activity. Firstly, let's talk about the yellow team. The striker, as you can see, is now running around the outside of the field, having left the field at the back of the end zone. The ball carrier, who came in from the cone at the side, now becomes the striker, so now moves into the striker position and is now fixed to begin with in the end zone. And then the third player, the player that came in from the side, and now moves into a defensive recovery position to make the 2 defenders. So there is a rotation there, and we obviously have to try and get our players to understand that rotation. The defending rotation, again, a little bit more complex, but we'll work through it and the players will understand it eventually. The deep lying defender who was in the end zone now leaves the field and moves round into the side position so they can become one of the midfield players in the next rotation. The midfield player who is in the middle zone drops back into becoming the next defender for the next yellow attack. And you can see here the new players are entering in from the sideline as fullbacks. And we can see here that the green goalkeeper for the red team has collected the ball and started the attack immediately by rolling the ball out to the right fullback. So Ian, let's talk a little bit about some of those nuances, those methodology points, please. Ian, we seem to have you frozen.
Sure, let's get to that, David. I'm glad to see. Aha.
You're back.
Well, I'm here. Yes, I'm certainly here.
Yeah, you're back now.
Oh, great. So just really happy to see from the response to the poll question that a lot of our coaches are active in receiving some sort of education. So fantastic, and thank you for being here and enjoying more coach education. One of the really important things about this activity, and I think David did a good job of expressing the potential ways to rotate. Make sure that your players know how they come in and out of an activity with this amount of flow. But there's a great emphasis here on transition. So the quicker this green goalkeeper can get the ball into play when it becomes their turn to attack, the response time of his or her teammates gives them the opportunity for a quick counterattack and taking the opponent at a disadvantage. And I think I would be coaching transition after the first activity, after the first time through. I'd be making sure about that for sure. And of course, again, because of the intelligence of the starting positions, we have game realism. We have players in essentially fullback roles. We have a deep lying player and the goalkeeper that we can use in support. And we could even develop this activity by suggesting that the goalkeeper could initially serve straight to the target player, and then these 2 players would come in from deeper positions of support. So there's a tremendous opportunity here for the imaginative coach, the effective coach, to manipulate starting positions and environments to create game-like scenarios which you feel are relevant for what you need to work on for a coming game day, Saturday, whatever.
Ian, and one of the other things I really like about this activity is the opportunity for us to really train our strikers who are at the beginning are fixed into that end zone, but in most cases they're going to receive their back to the goal and the ball's into feet, so they can learn when to turn and when to set the ball back in, as you mentioned, whether it comes straight from the goalkeeper or from the fullbacks. And then another thing to reiterate, this activity, in order for it to be ideal for working on transition and counter-attacks, we've got to get the goalkeepers to be conditioned to restart the game very quickly from the end zone so that we can move from one end to the other very, very rapidly. And of course, those players then leaving the field have to get into position quickly. So Ian, anything else that you'd like to mention on this activity?
No, I just want to emphasize to coaches, the more we can get into these game-like activities that the players enjoy, but allows the coach to bring out his or her topic outside of a drill environment, those are the keys and should be the focus.
Thanks, Ian. So just to finalize here, for those of you who have participated live in this session, then we will have an opportunity to receive a replay approximately an hour from the end of the session. And that link will take you directly to that replay. For those people that registered and didn't participate, they'll get the replay as well. If you want to participate in future Give and Goes, you can auto subscribe when you register for the next one, and then that allows you to participate in every session automatically without having to register. We'll take any questions that we receive online through our LinkedIn group, where we have about 26,000 members, and those opportunities for us to not only converse with the clinicians, but also to converse with your colleagues. So thanks very much, Ian, for your time. I appreciate it. And we look forward to the next issue of Give and Go.